Optimal cleat position is a critical element of a bike fit. The positional relationship between your foot and the pedal axis is very important for force production, pedaling efficiency, comfort, and injury prevention. What is generally overlooked, however, is whether the cleats you are using and the shoes you are wearing will even allow you to get your foot where you want it on the pedal. In this video, I will show you the limitations of cleat systems and shoe models which may prevent you from getting your preferred foot on pedal position, and which combinations will give you the greatest range and flexibility to get you where you want to be. To be clear, this video is not about what is the ideal cleat position. I will release a video on that topic soon, so subscribe and hit the notifications bell if you'd like to see that video when it's ready. Do you know exactly where you want your foot to be on the pedal when cleated in? Do you naturally assume that the cleat position you choose on one bike shoe will translate directly to the next shoe? If you change from one cleat and pedal system to another, will you be able to achieve the same setup on your new choice? These are not valid assumptions. How did we get here and what is all the fuss about? I'm a roadie by heart, having bought my first carbon drop bar road bike in 2015. It was a lovely DeRosa Super King. I've had several road bikes since, but 2 years ago I bought a second-hand gravel bike, a giant TCX, to get a taste of off-road riding. I'm now really enjoying my gravel riding and spending more time away from cars on the gravel roads in the Adelaide Hills. Now, although I am a bike fitter, I am also what Phil Burt refers to as a macro absorber. This means that I run my road bike cleats mid-fore aft, central from medial to lateral, and in neutral rotation. And this has worked well for me for many years. So naturally, when I bought my gravel bike, I did the same. I ordered myself a pair of Shimano off-road shoes, and I put the SPD cleats smack in the mid position. And for my first few rides, this cleat position felt terrible, really. When I was riding, I felt like my feet were always about to tip forwards over the pedal spindle, and the power transfer through the pedals just wasn't there because of this feeling of instability. I knew it wasn't right, but it didn't worry me enough to investigate it further. I just figured it's a different bike, it's a heavier frame, it's a different riding surface. I just need time to adjust. But that never happened. If anything, it just became noticeably worse. So eventually, I took a closer look at the setup. And it turns out that the available cleat position on my road shoes is quite different to that of my off-road shoes. And this was not in the brochure. The three major road cleat options, Shimano SPD SL, Look Keo, and Speedplay, all have a mark on them that show you exactly where the pedal spindle axis lies. On the SPD SLs, it is a tiny little lump on the plastic on the side of the cleat, which will disappear very quickly with wear. You can just see it here if you look really closely at these lightly worn cleats. I think Shimano could do a much better job at making this mark more visible. On Look Keo cleats, there is a much clearer ridge on the side of the cleat that will not wear off. On Speedplays, they have made it very easy to see with a score mark right across the centre of the base plate. I'm not sure that SPD cleats have this mark on them, but you can see by looking through the pedal when it's attached to the cleats that the pedal axis is through the centre of the bolts or maybe 1 millimetre forward. Let's take a look at these three road cleats more closely. I'll use some masking tape and I'll mark the pedal axis position when the cleat is fully rearward, and then again when the cleat is fully forward. First, I'll try the Speedplay cleat base plate, which I'll mark with a red pen. Next, the Look Keo cleat, which I'll mark with a brown pen. Then finally, a Shimano SPD SL cleat, which I'll mark with a green pen. You can see that the Speedplay system will allow the pedal to be furthest forward under the foot, in other words, near the toes. The Shimano SPD SL will give you the rearmost position of the pedal under the foot, back towards the heel, and Look Keo sits between the two. Also interesting here is that both Speedplay and the Shimano SPD SL will allow 12 millimeters of fore-aft adjustment, while the Look Keo cleat only has 8 millimeters of adjustment. By comparison, the off-road SPD cleats have no fore and aft adjustment per se, but rely on the slots in the shoe base plate to allow forward and backward sliding. And we'll come back to this in a minute. In this part of the test, I've used my backup pair of Northwave shoes, which have a fixed position 3-bolt system. The road cleats can slide forwards and backwards, but the bolt holes do not move. However, my wife has a pair of Scott road shoes, and the shoe sole features 3 slots and a sliding internal plate that allow an extra 12mm of fore-aft range beyond whatever the cleats allow. Obviously, this gives much greater flexibility in fore-aft cleat positioning. My off-road shoes have 2 slots in them, and this allows for 23mm of fore-aft positioning range for the SPD cleats, bearing in mind that there are 2 rows of bolt holes. Where this gets interesting is that the range of pedal position under my foot on my Northwave road shoes is much further forward towards the toes than the range available on my Shimano off-road shoes. To demonstrate this, I need to find where the first metatarsal head of my foot lies in both shoes. Some people will be able to feel this easily through their shoe. However, if your shoe material is very thick, or if you're just not sure, here is a hack for you. Cut off a small length of matchstick, mark on your bare skin where the first metatarsal head is, and then tape this matchstick piece vertically over your mark. Then put your cycling sock on, slide your foot carefully into the shoe so the matchstick isn't dislodged, and you'll be able to feel it quite easily through the shoe material. I've now marked the position of my first metatarsal head on both my Northwave road shoe and my Shimano off-road shoe. You can see on my road shoe with my preferred Speedplay cleats that I can adjust my foot position so that the pedal is level with my metatarsal head or up to 12mm behind it. With my off-road shoe, I can adjust the pedal axis between 12mm behind the metatarsal head and 35mm behind. As you can see, the road shoe and the off-road shoe just don't match up. Generally, I have my Speedplay cleats set up in the mid fore-aft position on my Northwave road shoes. So when I tried to replicate this idea on those Shimano off-road shoes and I put the SPD cleat right in the middle of the available range, I effectively had the pedal spindle 2 centimeters further back. That's a huge amount. No wonder it felt so weird. So, in summary, firstly, it really helps if you know exactly where you want the pedal to sit in relation to your foot bones. I will dive into this topic in another video. It's coming soon. If you're not sure about your positioning, then a Look Keo cleat and a fixed 3-bolt shoe will give you the least flexibility to play with only 8mm of fore-aft adjustment available. Speedplay has 12mm of slide built into the cleat and will get the pedal slightly further forward under your foot, and Shimano SPD SL also has 12mm of slide built in and will get the pedal slightly more rearward under your foot. A sliding bolt plate on the sole of your shoe will give you some extra fore and aft range, and typically this seems to be about 12mm. And moving from one shoe to another, particularly a road shoe to an off-road shoe or vice versa, may put your cleats in an entirely different position altogether. So how can you use this information? With all this in mind, it might be worth bringing a fresh set of your preferred cleats with you when you go to try on a new pair of cycling shoes, so you know where the pedal axis is going to end up. I'm not sure how you would use this if you're buying shoes online, as I think there are too many variables to calculate in advance. But let me know if you have any clever hacks to work this out. I'd really like to know if the information discussed here is something that you were already well aware of, or has it come as a bit of a surprise just how much your choice of cleats and shoes affects the final foot to pedal relationship.